Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered who else has seen them? We are all connected to the past. Ancient civilizations are not just ruins, they are the roots of our own story. This connection drives our endless curiosity to understand where we come from. Exploring the past is a journey of discovery, requiring only an open mind. We travel back to worlds of thinkers, artists, and builders who faced challenges and created wonders. Their stories reveal the strength and creativity of the human spirit. Across cultures, we're fascinated by their questions about life, justice, and the afterlife. By studying their answers, we gain new perspectives on our own world. To study these civilizations is to witness the dawn of ideas, law, science, and art. It's a journey to the very source of what makes us human. Studying ancient history isn't just about monuments or rulers, it's about people. We seek the lives of ordinary men, women, and children who lived in the shadow of pyramids and temples. Discovering a child's toy or a merchant's letter brings the past to life. These moments make history personal, turning distant figures into familiar faces. We learn how ancient peoples built communities, formed friendships, and faced challenges. Their successes inspire us, their failures warn us. Exploring their world is an act of empathy. Walking through Babylon's markets or sitting in a Greek theater, we try to see the world through their eyes. This is more than an academic exercise. It's about understanding our shared humanity. Their lives laid the foundation for our modern world. The echoes of their experiences still shape us today. Our journey is a quest for knowledge about the world's first great civilizations. We'll visit the river valleys where humanity learned to live together on a massive scale. We'll explore Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, China, and Greece, each with unique achievements. We'll look beyond monuments to daily life, social structures, and the leaders who shaped history. What was it like to be a farmer by a ziggurat or a soldier with Alexander the Great? The ancient world is full of mysteries, collapsed cities, unopened tombs, and engineering marvels. These puzzles invite us to keep searching and imagining. The past still has much to teach us. In sun-scorched Mesopotamia, people settled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. They learned to control water, turning wild floods into fertile fields. This led to the world's first cities, Uruk, Ur, Babylon, rising from small villages. Imagine seeing a city for the first time, ziggurats towering above bustling markets and workshops. Thousands of unrelated people learned to live and work together, creating complex societies. Food surpluses allowed for specialized roles: priests, soldiers, artisans, builders. The Mesopotamians invented the wheel and the plow, revolutionizing daily life. But their greatest leap was writing. Sumerians developed cuneiform, pressing marks into clay tablets. For the first time, thoughts and stories could be recorded and passed down. History itself had begun. The city was humanity's boldest experiment. Civilization was born. Mesopotamians believed their world was ruled by powerful, unpredictable gods. Each city had its own patron deity, and ziggurats served as their earthly homes. Priests performed rituals to keep the gods satisfied and the city safe. Kings, once chosen in war, became hereditary rulers, seen as the gods' representatives. Hammurabi of Babylon created one of history's first legal codes, the Code of Hammurabi. Carved in stone, it set out laws for property, trade, family, and crime. Justice was harsh and unequal, but it brought order and predictability. Laws replaced the whims of rulers, laying the groundwork for future legal systems. Mesopotamia's legacy is the idea that society should be governed by laws, not just by power. This principle endures in our world today. The rule of law began here. As Mesopotamia flourished, Egypt rose along the Nile. The Nile's predictable floods created a green ribbon of life in the desert. Egyptians built their calendar and society around the river's cycles. At the center stood the pharaoh, king and living god, tasked with maintaining cosmic order, or Mayat. The pharaoh's divine authority unified Egypt, creating one of history's first nation-states. This power inspired the construction of the pyramids, eternal tombs for the pharaohs. The Great Pyramid of Giza stood as the tallest structure for nearly 4,000 years. Tens of thousands of skilled workers built these monuments, not slaves. The pyramids are a testament to Egyptian faith, ambition, and engineering genius. Their legacy endures in stone and story. The ancient Egyptians are famous for their focus on the afterlife. They loved life so much that they wanted it to continue forever. Their elaborate preparations for death were an expression of their deep belief in an eternal life. This belief led to mummification, a long and complex process. The final test was the weighing of the heart ceremony. If the heart was lighter than the feather, they would be granted entry into the field of reeds. This profound belief in eternity is Egypt's enduring gift. While pyramids rose in Egypt and Mesopotamia thrived, another great civilization flourished to the east. Larger than Egypt or Mesopotamia, it covered modern-day Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan. This was the Indus Valley civilization, or Harappan civilization. Forgotten for millennia, archaeologists unearthed this lost world in the 1920s. As advanced as its counterparts, it remains profoundly mysterious. We cannot read their script, sophisticated symbols on stone seals. Without translation, their voices are silent. Their cities reveal incredible organization and planning, unlike the chaotic streets of Mesopotamia. A precise grid pattern suggests a powerful central authority. The Indus River provided fertile soil for agriculture. Skilled traders, their seals have been found as far as Mesopotamia. The Indus Valley civilization remains the most mysterious, its secrets just beginning to be uncovered. The greatest achievements of the Indus Valley civilization were its cities. Two of the largest excavated are Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. Walking through Mohenjo-Daro is like stepping into a blueprint for urban life. The buildings were made from uniform baked bricks. What is truly astonishing is their advanced sanitation system, more sophisticated than any other in the ancient world. Almost every house had its own bathroom and a private well. Wastewater flowed into covered drains along the streets. One of the most impressive structures is the Great Bath. This large rectangular brick pool was likely used for religious rituals. Yet, the cities of the Indus are strangely anonymous. We have found no grand palaces or large temples, unlike in Egypt or Mesopotamia. We have found no monumental statues of rulers. Their society seems focused on communal order and prosperity. Far to the east, the Yellow River nurtured a civilization. The river was both a blessing, providing fertile soil, and a curse prone to devastating floods. Controlling the river was a challenge that forged Chinese society. The Shang dynasty rose to power around 1600 BC as a formidable Bronze Age power. Their craftspeople created spectacular bronze ritual vessels. Oracle bones used for divination reveal questions to gods or ancestors. Inscriptions on the bones are the earliest form of Chinese writing. Ancestor worship was central to their religion, with rituals and sacrifices to keep them happy. This respect for family became a core value of Chinese culture. The Shang dynasty was overthrown by the Zhou dynasty. The Zhou rulers introduced the mandate of heaven, the belief that heaven granted a ruler the right to rule, but only if they governed justly and wisely. This created a cyclical pattern of dynasties rising and falling. For centuries, China was a collection of warring states. In 221 BC, Qin Shi Huang unified China. He declared himself the first emperor. He created the first version of the Great Wall of China. His rule was short, but his legacy was immense, laying the foundations for a unified Chinese state. Ancient China was a powerhouse of invention, producing discoveries that profoundly shaped human development across the globe. Long before the West, Chinese innovators developed the four great inventions. Papermaking, created around the 2nd century AD, revolutionized bureaucracy, education, and communication. By the 9th century, woodblock printing allowed mass production of texts. The compass, initially for fortune-telling, was adapted for ships by the Song dynasty. Gunpowder, discovered accidentally by alchemists, transformed warfare. These inventions are a testament to China's ancient tradition of ingenuity. Our journey takes us to the Aegean Sea, where a brilliant civilization emerged, ancient Greece. Unlike the river empires, Greece was fragmented due to its mountainous geography, giving rise to independent city-states or polis. Each polis had its own government and army. Expert sailors, the Greeks established colonies across the Mediterranean, trading goods and ideas. At each polis' heart was the Acropolis and the Agora, a center for daily life. This communal space fostered active citizenship and laid the groundwork for enduring contributions to the world. It was in these city-states that radical ideas about art, politics, and knowledge flourished, echoing through Western civilization. Of all the Greek city-states, Athens stands out. In the 5th century BC, the world's first democracy was born. The word democracy comes from meaning the people, and meaning power or rule. For the first time, a government was based on the principle that ordinary citizens should have the power to rule themselves. Athenian democracy was direct. The main governing body was the assembly, open to all adult male citizens. They would meet to debate and vote on every important issue. Of course, this democracy was far from perfect. Women were excluded from political life and slaves had no rights. Nevertheless, the core idea that a state should be governed by its citizens was a concept of explosive power. The Athenian experiment showed the world that a different kind of society was possible. The Greek polis, especially Athens, gave rise to the birth of philosophy. The word means love of wisdom. Greek philosophers used human reason and logic to understand the universe. One of the most famous was Socrates, who wrote nothing down. We know him through his student Plato. Plato founded the Academy, the world's first university. Plato believed the world is a shadow of a higher reality of forms or ideas. Plato's student Aristotle studied the observable world. He studied biology, physics, ethics, and politics. Together, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle created the framework for how we think about the world. The Greeks were rational thinkers with a rich imagination. Their world was populated by gods, goddesses, heroes, and monsters. Greek mythology was a fundamental part of their culture, explaining the world and teaching moral lessons. The gods of Mount Olympus, led by Zeus, were very human, meddling in mortal lives. Myths explained natural phenomena and explored the human condition. Heroes like Heracles, Odysseus, and Achilles were often demigods who achieved extraordinary things, but were also flawed. These myths were spread through epic poems like a cornerstone of Greek education. The stories were also the main subject of Greek theater, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and film to this day. The story of ancient Greece is not just one of philosophy and art, it is also a story of brutal and defining conflicts. The first great clash was with the mighty Persian Empire to the east. In the early 5th century BC, the Persians, who controlled a vast territory, tried to conquer the small independent Greek city-states. Against all odds, the Greeks united and fought back. The Athenian victory at the Battle of Marathon, and the heroic stand of 300 Spartans at Thermopylae became legendary tales of freedom defending itself against tyranny. The eventual Greek victory in the Persian Wars filled them with immense confidence and ushered in the Golden Age of Athens, a period of unparalleled cultural and artistic achievement. However, this unity did not last. The two most powerful city-states, Athens and Sparta, were built on completely opposite values. Athens was a democracy, a sea power with a vibrant culture of art and philosophy. Sparta, on the other hand, was an oligarchy, a strict militaristic society where every male citizen was a full-time soldier from childhood. Life in Sparta was harsh, disciplined, and entirely focused on creating the perfect army. They valued duty, strength, and obedience above all else. These two rival powers, with their allies, soon became locked in a struggle for control of the Greek world. This conflict, known as the Peloponnesian War, lasted for nearly 30 years and engulfed the entire Greek world. It was a devastating civil war described in chilling detail by the historian Thucydides. He showed how the war brutalized both sides, eroding the noble values they claimed to be fighting for. Athens, which started the war as a proud democracy, became increasingly tyrannical towards its allies. The war ended with the complete defeat of Athens. The city walls were torn down, its empire was lost, and its golden age was over. The war left all the Greek city-states weakened, impoverished, and vulnerable. The constant infighting made Greece an easy target for a new power rising to the north, Macedonia. King Philip II of Macedon conquered the exhausted Greek city-states, and his son, Alexander the Great, would go on to do something even more extraordinary. He led a combined Greek and Macedonian army to conquer the vast Persian Empire, creating one of the largest empires in the ancient world, stretching from Greece to India. While Alexander's empire shattered after his early death, his conquests had a lasting impact. They spread Greek language, culture, and ideas across the East, creating a new, blended Hellenistic civilization that would shape the region for centuries to come. No ancient civilization existed in a bubble. They were all part of a vast, interconnected world, linked by invisible threads of trade, ideas, and conflict. One of the most famous of these connections was the network of trade routes we now call the Silk Roads. This was not a single road but a web of pathways that stretched for thousands of miles, connecting the mighty Han Dynasty in China with the Roman Empire in the West. For centuries, this network was the main channel for goods and ideas flowing between East and West. It was a bridge between worlds, and the traffic that crossed it changed history forever. The most famous commodity to travel this route was, of course, silk. For the Romans, this beautiful, lightweight fabric from China was the ultimate luxury good. It was worth more than its weight in gold. Wealthy Roman men and women desired it greatly, and the demand created a massive flow of Roman gold and silver eastward. But the trade went both ways. From the west, China received goods like glass, horses, and precious metals. Along the way, powerful empires in Central Asia, like the Parthians and Kushans, grew rich by controlling sections of the route and taxing the caravans that passed through their lands, becoming a vital link in this global chain. But the Silk Roads carried much more than just luxury goods. They were conduits for culture, technology, and beliefs. The invention of the stirrup, for example, developed by nomads in Central Asia, spread along these routes and revolutionized warfare by making cavalry far more effective. Musical instruments, artistic styles, and scientific knowledge also made the long journey. Perhaps most importantly, the Silk Roads became the main highway for the spread of religions. Buddhism traveled from its homeland in India, along the trade routes through Central Asia and into China, where it would become one of the country's most important faiths, transforming its culture and art. This great exchange shows us that the ancient world was far more connected than we often imagine. A piece of Chinese silk worn by a Roman noblewoman in the city of Rome was the end point of a journey that had crossed mountains and deserts and passed through the hands of many different peoples. The existence of these networks challenges our simple view of separate, isolated civilizations. It reveals a dynamic and interactive ancient world, where events in one region could have surprising and profound effects on another, thousands of miles away. These ancient connections laid the groundwork for the globalized world we live in today. One of the most powerful connections in human history is the one you are using right now, the alphabet. This simple but revolutionary idea did not spring into existence fully formed. It was the product of a long journey, passed from one civilization to another, with each culture adding its own unique innovations. The story begins not in one of the great empires, but with a seafaring people called the Phoenicians, who lived along the coast of what is now Lebanon. They were brilliant traders, and they needed a simple, efficient way to keep records for their vast commercial network across the Mediterranean. The complex writing systems of Mesopotamia, like cuneiform, and Egypt, with their hieroglyphs, had hundreds of symbols and took years of study to master. Those systems were suitable for priests and scribes, but not for busy merchants. The Phoenicians developed a radical new system around 1200 BC. Instead of using a symbol for each word or syllable, they created a small set of about 22 symbols, where each symbol represented a single consonant sound. This was the world's first widely used alphabetic script. It was easy to learn, easy to use, and incredibly adaptable. It was a technology of communication that was, for the first time, accessible to ordinary people. As the Phoenicians sailed and traded, they took their alphabet with them. They established colonies across the Mediterranean, and their writing system was adopted and adapted by the people they encountered. The Greeks were one of the first to see the potential of this brilliant invention. They took the Phoenician alphabet and made a crucial improvement. The Phoenician script had no symbols for vowel sounds. The Greeks took some of the Phoenician symbols they didn't need for their own language and repurposed them to represent vowels like A, E, I, O, and U. This created the first true alphabet, a complete system for representing all the sounds of a spoken language. The story doesn't end there. From the Greeks, the alphabet was passed on to the Etruscans in Italy, and then to the Romans. The Romans modified the shapes of the letters, creating the Latin alphabet that is used today throughout the Western world and beyond. Every time you read or write in English or Spanish or French, you are using a system that is a direct descendant of the one developed by those ancient Roman, Greek, and Phoenician innovators. It is a powerful reminder of how ideas can travel across cultures and centuries, evolving and improving as they connect humanity in a shared story of communication. Walking through modern capital cities, you're often in the shadow of the ancient past. Buildings housing our governments, courts, and banks often echo architectural languages from thousands of years ago. Ancient Greece and Rome's influence is etched into our public spaces. Grand columns, triangular pediments, and elegant domes are direct echoes of Athens and Rome. This classical architecture, revived throughout history, conveys power and democratic tradition. The White House, the British Museum, and state capitals borrow from Greek and Roman designs, connecting new nations to ancient ideals. Architecture itself is a statement claiming inheritance of ancient values. Beyond buildings and alphabets, the most profound influence of the ancient world lies in the transmission of knowledge itself. The intellectual breakthroughs of the ancient civilizations did not disappear when their empires fell. They were preserved, translated, and passed down through the centuries, forming the bedrock upon which later scientific and philosophical progress was built. The works of Greek thinkers like Aristotle, for example, contained vast amounts of knowledge on logic, biology, physics, and politics. After the fall of Rome in the West, this knowledge was largely lost to Europe for a time. However, this precious intellectual heritage was saved by scholars in the Islamic world. During Europe's Dark Ages, the great cities of the Islamic Golden Age like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cordoba became vibrant centers of learning. Scholars there actively sought out ancient Greek texts, translating them into Arabic. They didn't just preserve this knowledge, they built upon it. They made their own groundbreaking discoveries in mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and chemistry. They studied the works of Aristotle and Plato, adding their own commentaries and critiques, keeping the flame of rational inquiry alive and burning brightly. This knowledge eventually made its way back into Europe during the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance. As contact between the Islamic world and Europe increased through trade and conflict, these translated texts of ancient Greek wisdom, along with the Arabic commentaries, were rediscovered by European scholars. It was like a second sunrise. This reintroduction of classical learning sparked the Renaissance, a fervent period of artistic and intellectual rebirth. Thinkers and scientists began to look at the world in a new way, inspired by the ancient belief in human reason and the power of observation. This great transmission of knowledge is a perfect example of how interconnected human history is. A philosophical idea born in the Agora of Athens was written down, preserved for centuries by scholars in Baghdad, and then studied again in a university in Italy, where it helped to spark the scientific revolution. Our modern world of science, law, and political thought did not appear out of nowhere. It was built layer by layer, with each generation standing on the shoulders of the giants who came before. The thinkers of Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, India, and Greece all laid foundation stones for the world of ideas we inhabit today. Our journey through the ancient world from Mesopotamia to Athens shows us the deep roots of our civilization. The past is the foundation of the house we live in today. The questions that drove the first philosophers keep us awake at night. Their desire for community, justice, beauty echoes through the millennia. To study the ancients is to hold a mirror up to ourselves, revealing timeless human patterns. Their stories are a part of our collective human identity. The legacy of these civilizations is woven into our daily lives. Our roads echo the Romans, our cities the Indus Valley, and our debates Plato and Aristotle. Their triumphs and failures provide lessons on building a better world. Studying civilizations reminds us of long-term thinking and enduring values. It invites us to remain curious and keep exploring our shared human journey. Their ideas, art, and spirit live on, shaping our present and inspiring our future.